Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today I am finally getting around to this 200 subscriber get to know me Q&A video. I reached 200 subscribers in, I believe, early August, and again, thank you to all of you who have subscribed. I really appreciate all of you being here. And I planned to do a Q&A and a bit of a get to know me video. It just took a bit longer than I meant to for me to actually get it filmed because I had a lot of other videos in mind and they kind of needed to be out a little bit earlier. So yeah, this one kept getting pushed back, but I am finally getting to it. So before I get into the Q&A portion, I thought I would start out the video telling you a little bit about myself because other than the BookTube newbie tag, I really don't feel like I've taken the time to do that at all on this channel. And I know when I'm watching videos of people, I like to have a little bit of an idea of who the person is that I'm watching. So let's go ahead and get into that first. So to start with, I have lived in 3 different states. I was born in the state of California. I moved to the Midwest when I was 13. My family moved to Missouri. And then a few years after I got married, my husband and I moved to Iowa, and that's where we're currently living. So my elementary and first half of my middle school years were in California, mostly Southern California, and my remaining middle school years and high school years were in Missouri. I went to college at Northwest Missouri State University and also spent a little bit of time at Lindenwood University, but ultimately my degree is from Northwest. And I got a bachelor's of arts in English with a minor in writing. I got married pretty young. I was 22 when I got married. We did not have our first child until I was almost 30. That was by choice. My college career was all over the place. We can talk about that another time. I'm not going to go into that here. But I wanted to get my degree before we started having kids because I knew once we had kids, school was going to be out. There was no doubt in my mind about that. So I did get my degree. A few months later, I got pregnant with our son, and then we had our daughter after. I guess I should probably mention the cat because he actually came along before the kids did. We adopted him when he was 2 months old from a former teacher of mine, and he is now 11 years old. So he's getting up there in years, but he's not quite an old man, although he would make you think otherwise because he is very cranky. If I can get a picture of him, I will post it up here, but unfortunately he hides during the day. He is not a fan of the kids. He has never been a fan of the kids. He's not a fan of loud noises. He got used to a very quiet house for a few years before the kids came along, and he does not like the noise. So he tends to hide during the day, either outside or in the basement. So it's not always the easiest to get pictures of him because when he finally comes around in the evening, all he wants to do is curl up and be petted. So I don't always get a lot of pictures of him sitting. And he's a black and white tuxedo cat, and his markings really look like he's wearing a tuxedo. So that's the picture I want to get, and it's not easy to get. So aside from school and just basic life, let's go ahead and talk about, I guess, my online life as far as books and such. So I feel like I need to get comfortable because this feels like a long story. So I actually started a book blog back in 2016. I started it technically at the very end of December in 2015. But basically I had it through the entire year of 2016. Unfortunately, it costs a fair amount to have a website and all the security stuff and everything that goes along with that. So when the first year came to an end, I decided I couldn't afford to keep it going. I hated to get rid of it because I really enjoyed having it, even though there wasn't much traffic on it. But I couldn't justify the cost. So that went away. And it's gone. I've even tried to look for it and you can't find it anymore. So I did at least give it a try. It just unfortunately didn't end up working out. Then in June of 2017, I decided to start a YouTube channel, a BookTube channel. So no, this is not my first booktube channel. This isn't my first rodeo. Unfortunately, it did not go well. First of all, I was terrible at it. My camera presence was absolutely awful. There's times I watch when I'm editing my videos, I see how I look on camera and I'm like, wow, I really needed to have more energy in this film. I really needed to have better camera presence. I really should have said that better. I really should have done this and that better. And I'm sure other people think the same thing as well. But I will tell you this, however bad you think these videos are, they are nothing compared to those videos. I was so beyond bland and boring in those videos. And I know there's a reason, or at least a partial reason, but it doesn't change the fact that the videos were very boring to watch. The main reason is that the laptop I was using to edit died a month into me having my channel. And so I was having to use my husband's desktop, which, for computer nerds out there who will understand, I went from a dual core processor down to a single core, and I went from, I think, 8 gigs of RAM down to 4. For non-tech nerds, it means I went from a fairly reasonably fast computer to an extremely slow computer as far as processing speed. And whenever I was using my editing software, it went from I could watch the video smoothly all the way through to it would change images about every half a second to a second. So it wasn't watching a video. So I was going off of, am I doing well in the videos based on how my voice sounded? And unfortunately, my voice and my face did not match up, because my voice might sound interested and it might sound really good, but my face looked like this and it was very boring and it was very not fun to watch. I was very stiff because my camera does not have a viewfinder that flips open, so I can't see myself. And I finally came up with this rigging where I use my computer as the viewfinder so I can actually see myself. I can see if I'm actually in frame. I didn't come up with that idea when I did this the last time. And so I wasn't actually seeing what I look like on camera. I was only hearing what I look like on camera. And the mistake I made is once I uploaded a video to YouTube, I never went back and watched it when I could have actually watched it smoothly. I should have, and I didn't, so there were problems that didn't get fixed. And that was really the biggest one, is my videos were just not fun to watch. They weren't the best quality either, but as far as just video quality, but they were not the most fun to watch. So after 9 months, I stopped posting videos because I was pregnant with our daughter, and I decided to take a break until after she was born, but I didn't end up coming back. I was often very stressed about YouTube, and I knew I wasn't doing well at it, so I just didn't have the desire to come back. However, in September of 2018, I started an Instagram account specifically for writing. And I considered coming back to YouTube a few times over the next almost 2 years that I had that account and regularly posted on starting another YouTube channel, but for writing. However, when the pandemic hit in 2020, my writing ambition, I guess you could call it, plummeted. There was just a lot of stress, hearing a lot of things from different sides. Some people saying it's no big deal, some people saying it's a huge deal, worrying about if I'm going to get sick, if my kids are going to get sick, what that might do to any of us. And so with all of the stress, I couldn't make myself write. I lost the desire to do it. And I knew it wasn't like I never wanted to write again. It was just I couldn't bring myself to actually write anything, because it was almost the feeling of, does it even matter? So in June of 2020, I posted either June or July of 2020, I posted my final post on that Instagram account, and I haven't used it since. And that account is under a pen name I plan to use, so you're not going to find it under my name at all. But if I ever start posting there again, I will let you guys know what the Instagram account is. But since then, I have not written consistently. I have tried a few times to get back into writing, but it's been a struggle. And I think a lot of it is because I had a lot of the momentum to keep going at that point. I was doing it consistently enough. It was easy to just sit down and write. And because it hasn't been consistent since then, it's hard for me to actually sit down and work on something and get into that mindset. So I'm hoping at some point to be able to really get back into the groove of things. I just don't know exactly when that's going to be. I have a lot of different ideas. I just have to actually be able to get them down on paper. So from June of 2020 until May of 2024, I had no online presence in the book or writing community. Other than watching and commenting on BookTube videos, I had no presence. So I had a lot of time to think about what I wanted to do if I started another channel, and hopefully whenever I started it to do a better job than I did last time. So far I would say I'm doing better because my subscriber count is already higher than it was when I stopped posting videos on that other channel. So that's already a positive. There's a lot of really great people I have met on here. And I did also recently start a Bookstagram account on Instagram to meet people over there as well. That is linked down in the description of my videos, so you can follow me over there if you want to. But that's new. I started that account in August, so I haven't been over there long. I have no idea how much is going to be on there by the time you guys would go see it. But I wanted to have a way where I could connect with people other than just through videos, because sometimes posting YouTube videos can feel like a one-sided conversation, because I'm here making the video, telling you guys all my thoughts about books, and a lot of times you don't get the back and forth conversation as much in the comments as you would like, because everybody's watching so many videos and commenting on so many videos. And so it sometimes feels hard to have those good one-on-one conversations. So I'm hoping having Instagram allows for a little bit more of that, and a way that I can give you guys a little more of an insight into my life, my reading life, and maybe provide some other things for you guys along the way. I think that sums up my online life as succinctly as I can. I have a tendency to ramble, but I think that's about as short as I can get that. All right, I think I'm going to go ahead and answer some of the questions that I've gotten from you guys. I got a few questions on my YouTube community post, and I also got some questions on Instagram. So I will go ahead and start answering some of those. I think we'll just start with the bookish questions, and then I'll go over some of the other things that I enjoy besides books, and then we'll get into the rest of the questions. So the first question is, what are your plans for your channel, perhaps sprints or a book club? And let me back up a little bit on that, from that one. So like I said, I started an Instagram account because I was debating on some different things that I could do to try to engage with you guys more, and also have ways of giving more back to you guys. And Instagram was one of them that I came up with. The other that I've been kicking around is a Discord account or Discord server, and also a Patreon. However, with being a small channel, I'm not sure Patreon is really the way to go, because with posting on Patreon, it requires more time to film, more time to edit, and more time to come up with other content, like significant content for you guys, to make it worth the fact that you are paying for the service. You're paying to support me. And so right now I'm kind of wanting to ease into things so that I don't just get completely overwhelmed. That's why I started the YouTube channel. Then I waited a few months. I've started the Instagram account, At some point, I will look into Discord or Patreon, possibly both, I don't know. I like the idea of having a book club. But I also know there are quite a few book clubs on YouTube. So I don't know how many people would be willing to participate in another one. But I do like the idea of having something like that where it's something monthly that we can do together, whether it's a book club or something else. As far as reading sprints, for the moment, I don't know. I like the idea of doing some live videos with you guys, whether it be sprints or something else. But at the moment, I'm not sure I trust my internet speed to not lag. I'm considering looking into upping our internet speed so that it's less likely to be a problem. I don't feel like it's really much of a problem with stuff that we do in the house, but I have been on a Zoom chat before and mine has started lagging at times, so I'm not sure how well that would work with trying to do a live stream. But it's something I would like to do in the future. However, I think I would probably be more keen to essentially co-host a live stream with someone where they're running it, so I can have an idea of the ins and outs of how that works before I'm running it on my own. But it is something I would like to consider doing in the future. So beyond that, I guess the question is probably, what am I planning to do in the near future then? I do have the fall/spring scavenger hunt sheets that I put out. If you missed the video announcement for that, I'll have it linked down in the description below. And I'll also go ahead and leave the links for the sheets on my Google Drive in the description. There is also the version on Instagram that you can put into your stories that I have saved on my profile there as well. Right now, that's probably the main thing, is just trying to come up with stuff that I can offer to you guys that you guys can do on a monthly or seasonal basis if you want to, or basically that we can all do together. I think the best way that I can put this is, if I do anything else with my channel beyond having the channel and the videos here that you see, and these seasonal scavenger hunts or something along that line, and the Instagram account, it's not going to happen until after the first of the year, because we take a longer break in the winter from homeschool, so I have the entire month of December off. So I'm planning to spend that time off to do some planning with this channel in December, probably in January as well. And so anything more that I do will probably happen in February or later. And I will keep you guys informed of any of that. But it will still be a few more months before I would probably add much of anything else. The only things that I would be up for doing, I think, this year would be co-hosting something. So whether it be co-hosting a live stream or a readathon or something like that. I would like to host my own readathon at some point, but I think for this point in time, for the remainder of this year, co-hosting would be about as much as I would be comfortable doing, I think. And then next year I can look at what can I potentially add, what more can I do for you guys, things like that. So hopefully that answers that question. There is more that I would like to do. I'm just not sure of the specifics of what I want to do or when I'm going to be able to do them. All right, the next question is, I was wondering how much of Brandon Sanderson's books you've read. And I guess I should go grab the books off my shelf because that's probably the easiest way to do this. And now I have books everywhere. But the first books I read by Brandon Sanderson were the Mistborn Era 1 trilogy books, and I really enjoyed these. But I will be honest, I read these before I even knew about the Cosmere. So there was definitely no question of where do I start with his Cosmere when I picked these books up. It was just, I owned the 3 books, so I went ahead and read them. Then I found out about the Cosmere, and I might have been done with the series by the time I found out about it, but I definitely started the series before I knew about it. So I did not realize how elaborate it was going to get. So yeah, but these are the first 3 that I read, and then I picked up the second era. I have read the first book, which is Alloy of Law, but I borrowed it from somebody else, and I bought these two so I could continue the series, but I've never gone back and bought the first one. I really need to. My plan last year was actually to finish this series, but then I found out apparently you're supposed to read Rhythm of War before you can read The Lost Metal. So I did not get to The Lost Metal, and I have not finished this series because I had not started the Stormlight Archives yet. So I've read the first three in Mistborn Era 2, but I have not read the last one yet. After that, I picked up Warbreaker because currently this one is a standalone, and I'd heard really good things about it. Plus, my brother read this one last year, so I wanted to be able to talk about the book with him. So picked that one up. And then I've at least started the Stormlight Archives. I read Way of Kings last year, and you can ignore all the tabs because, yes, it is a massive amount of tabs. Most of them are things that I had a feeling I was going to want to know later in the series. And honestly, I don't know if I'm ever going to go back and look through any of these, but it is majorly tabbed up. So I went a little nuts with this one, but I really enjoyed this book, but I got to that one last year. And then this year I've been working on Words of Radiance, which at the time of filming, I am through part 3. Planning to get through parts 4 and 5 in September, but you can see it is far less tabbed than Way of Kings because when I started this one, I decided I'm probably not going to revisit most of those tabs. There's no point in wasting them and putting them in the book, so I haven't. Doesn't mean I haven't enjoyed the book. Doesn't mean I have a feeling I'm going to want to know this stuff later, but with that many tabs, am I really going to go back and look through that information? Probably not. And I just realized I'm probably muffling my microphone. So I am working through this one, but that's as far as I've gotten in Stormlight. And then the only other book I've read by him is The Frugal Wizard's Handbook for Surviving Medieval England, which is the first time I've gotten that title right on this channel. Every time I either call it a guidebook or I say like half the title or I mess something up. So yeah, I read this one earlier this year. This is his one non-Cosmere secret project. And I also really enjoyed this one, but it's very different from his other books. And I think a lot of the reason other people didn't like it is because as far as world building and everything, it's not at the same level as his other books. I want to say it doesn't measure up, but it's just not at the same level. But this feels like a book that he just wanted to do something different with. I really enjoyed it, but I feel like I'm in the minority on that one. So those are all of his books that I have read. My plan after I finish Words of Radiance is to read Elantris and then Tress of the Emerald Sea, because my brother really wants me to get to Tress. And I mean, I want to read it too, don't get me wrong. But my brother really wants me to get to that one, but I've also heard that you should probably read Elantris before Tress. And I would say, especially if you are planning to work through all of the Cosmere books, which I am. So I want to read Elantris first, then I'll read Tress. After that, I'm not sure. My guess is Oathbringer will be next. But I'm not decided on that yet, so I'm not going to be held to that. All right, and I think those were the two from YouTube. I think the rest of the bookish ones came from Instagram. So the next question is, favorite book you've read aloud to your kids? And I will be honest, as far as chapter books, I haven't done much reading aloud to my kids. The only read aloud we've done is Charlotte's Web, because to try not to go into too much detail, because I do want to respect my kids' privacy. My kids just aren't at the point, or one in particular is not at the point where they can really sit down and listen to a story and pay attention to it and take it all in. So we don't do a whole lot with read alouds. I have one that does better with it, but yeah, we're tending to do a lot of shorter books. Probably, oh gosh, is it still out here? Let me go find, We were doing a lot of fairy tales last year, and there's one we read last year that I really liked, and I love the book. Let me go see if I can find it. Don't ask me how I remembered that that was buried on top of a bookshelf, but somehow I did. But the one we read last year that I really enjoyed was The Snow Queen by Hans Christian Andersen. Now, I do have a collection of all of his fairy tales on my bookshelf. It's in the Barnes & Noble leather-bound edition, and I have read the whole book. I really like his fairy tales. I read the same type bind up of the Brothers Grimm fairy tales, and I did not care for most of those. So that one I no longer have, but Hans Christian Andersen I really enjoyed. But I wanted to get individual books for the fairy tales that we were doing last year. Maybe I shouldn't just say fairy tales, children's stories, however you want to consider them, because I mean, we did things like The Gingerbread Man and The Three Little Pigs and The Pied Piper. I don't know if those qualify as fairy tales or if they're just considered children's stories, but whichever way you count them. I got individual books for them because I thought that would be easier for the kids and they could more easily pick them up and read them on their own afterwards. But I found this edition of The Snow Queen online, and what I like most about this is it's a pop-up book, but it is a gorgeous pop-up book. And if I can find the website for this, I will leave it linked down in the description, because the artwork is stunning, and the fact that it pops up so it actually stands out to the kids makes it even better. So this is probably my favorite one that we've done as a read aloud. I am very much looking forward to when the kids get older and we can start doing more of the chapter books, but like I said, unfortunately, we're just not quite there yet. Oh, the next one is Best Book of the Year so far. And I think I know which one I have to go with for that because it's the one that always comes to mind. But I'm going to look on Goodreads and see if there's something else that I'm just not remembering. Which would be sad to say it's my favorite book of the year and I don't even remember it, but there's been quite a few that I've read since even the mid-year freakout tags, so we'll see. All right, and I'm not going to go grab the book. I'm just going to pop a picture up. I'm still leaning towards my favorite book of the year is The Secret Diaries of Charlotte Bronte by Siri James. And I don't know how much of that is I read the right book at the right time, it was the right season, and how much of it was really just that good of a book. There are two others that I read recently that I really enjoyed. I don't know for sure if they're going to be a favorite book of the year. It partially depends on how I feel about them by the time the end of the year rolls around. But I would say they would at least be contenders, and that's The Last Murder at the End of the World by Stuart Turton and East of Eden by John Steinbeck. So yes, for all of you who voted for East of Eden by John Steinbeck in my One and Done Classics video, I appreciate the suggestion because it was a really good book. All right, that looks like all of the bookish ones if I'm reading that correctly. So next I'm going to talk a little bit about just some of my other interests, just give you guys an idea of some of the other things I like besides books. And if any of these are things that you guys would like to hear more about on this channel, you can let me know down in the description, because I'm sure I would be more than happy to talk about any of them. So the first thing I'm going to talk about that I really enjoy outside of books is my husband and I really enjoy playing board games. I have a bookshelf over here that it's 5 shelves tall and 3 of them are board games. And if I can get... I've got a table and stuff in front of it, so if I can get everything moved out, I will post a video clip of the bookshelf so you can see what's on it. But this is, I'm pretty sure this is not even half the games that we own. So we own a lot of board games. There are quite a few that are down in the basement, but they're more the type that either we do play together, but we don't play as often, or they're the types of games that we tend to only play when there's other people over. So trivia games are a big one. I love trivia games. My husband does not. So all the trivia games are down in the basement. And then there's some like apples to apples that are just better for bigger groups. So all of those are in the basement. If we have company, we can bring them out. But the ones on our shelf upstairs, those are the ones that we tend to play together, the two of us, whether we have company or not. The types of games that I've discovered we tend to enjoy the most are games that are cooperative or games where you really don't know who won until you add everything up at the end of the game. Terraforming Mars is a good example of that. We don't add up the stuff on Mars until the game is over. So the only thing affecting your TR rating, which I think is how it's actually supposed to work in the game, is whatever tells you to raise your TR during the game, or whatever affects your points in the game, is whatever tells you to raise your TR rating in the game. Don't ask me what TR stands for. I don't remember. I just know that's what it's called. So that's one where we have to add up the score once the game is done. Now, we might look at things and think, well, it looks like this person is probably winning. And sometimes we're right, sometimes we're not. But the not knowing for sure makes the game more enjoyable, because it's not like you're looking at the game board and you know this person's winning by a lot and this person doesn't even stand a chance. Because we've had some games like that, especially in Catan. Catan has been one of the worst ones for that, for us. Either one person is doing really well and the other person is not, or it is extremely close and there is no in between. It's not just a person is behind by a little bit. It's a lot or it's very little. And then we do like the cooperative games as well, like the Harry Potter Battle of Hogwarts, Pandemic. I know we have some other cooperative games, Forbidden Desert, things like that. Then one of my other interests is music. So I have been playing a musical instrument since I was 11. I played all the way through high school, and I was even a music major for a while in college. My plan at the time had been to be a middle or high school band director. So I started out on clarinet. That is my primary instrument. I started taking piano lessons when I was in between my 9th and 10th grade years, and also took lessons when I was in college. I did also do a semester of lessons on harpsichord, but I definitely wouldn't consider myself proficient on that one necessarily. I realize there's a lot of similarities, and if I'm proficient on piano, you could say I'm proficient on harpsichord, but I only played it one semester. I'm not going to say I am. And I did also play tenor and alto sax in some of the ensembles that we had, mostly in jazz band, but I did also play alto sax in one of our concert bands as well. Other than that, I've dabbled a little bit in some other instruments. I played euphonium for a couple semesters in one of our college concert bands, and outside of school, I've dabbled with not enough to become good at it, unfortunately. I really need to put the time into it, but I've dabbled a little bit with the kalimba and the Irish whistle. The kalimba is one that it's just a really pretty instrument, and I swear it feels like even if you play notes that seem like they should not sound good together, it feels like it's impossible to make that instrument sound bad. I have yet to play notes together where I just go, ooh, that actually doesn't sound pretty. So if I will try to get the kalimba out and play just a little bit on it so you can at least hear what it sounds like, because I know it's an instrument that most people aren't familiar with. I will not bring out the Irish whistle because I sound terrible on it. I will not put you through that. Another one of my interests is languages. I love learning other languages. I love learning about other languages. Unfortunately, I have not put in the time to become fluent in another language. I really want to, I really need to. I think it would be a good thing, but unfortunately, there are always other things that end up taking priority over learning a new language. Namely kids and homeschooling, but other things as well, I let take priority, and one of these days I will have to make learning a foreign language an actual priority. But just to give an idea, I took 2 years of Spanish in high school. Yes, it was required, but I did also want to learn Spanish at the time. I took 2 semesters of German and 3 semesters of American Sign Language in college. My German is extremely rusty, so is my sign language, but I have been trying to do more with those languages since college than I have with any of the others. And I've done just a small bit of dabbling, very small bit of dabbling into French, that is the smallest one, and Irish Gaelic. We'll get into why I wanted to study Irish Gaelic in a little bit in one of the other categories, but I do think it's a really pretty language, but it is a very hard language, especially because a lot of the pronunciations for letters and letter combinations do not sound at all like you would expect to from just from studying the English language or even the Romance languages. So it is difficult to learn in that regard. And unfortunately, I have not put in enough time to be able to speak it well. Or really speak it at all. I can't say much more than hello, goodbye, and how are you. So, yeah. So I'll go ahead and go into the next one so that way I don't forget to bring it up. But again, we're going to go back to music, but this is just music that I like to listen to. And I will be honest, I don't listen to a whole lot that's considered mainstream. Not because I'm too cool for mainstream. It's just not what I gravitate towards. So there are some Irish groups or Celtic groups that I listen to. I listen to Celtic Woman and Celtic Thunder both, which is what got me interested in studying the Irish language to begin with, because some of their songs are sung in Irish. I don't know for sure if any of them are sung in Scottish Gaelic or if they're all just in Irish, but that's what initially piqued my interest in that language, because I like the idea of being able to listen to the songs and know what they mean without having to go to like Google Translate or something that's not as reliable. Also, going along with wanting to study German, there are some German groups I listen to, and yes, they feel different from what you would think I would normally listen to if you go by what I listen to in English, but I do enjoy them. So the first one is D'Artagnan, which, yes, it's a German group with a French name. And I thought it was weird at first, but then I realized there could be an American group called D'Artagnan and we wouldn't think anything of it. And Germany is a whole lot closer to France than we are. So I probably shouldn't consider it weird that they have a French name. But they are I think they call themselves a folk rock group. So I think the songs are kind of supposed to be more along the lines of the types of songs you might hear in a folk song version, but they do a very, very much a rock version of the songs. And if you watch their videos, the outfits they always wear look like they're from like, I don't know, 14th, 15th, 16th century. I'm not sure exactly what century it's supposed to be from. And the battery died because I'm long-winded again, so sorry if the angle moved. I don't know exactly what century the outfits are from, but clearly at least a few hundred years ago, that's how they dress in all of their videos. I'm pretty sure all of them play instruments of some kind. Their style is definitely louder than most of the stuff that I'm going to be listening on here otherwise, but I do enjoy listening to their music. Another group is Santiano, which sounds more like it has a Spanish or Italian name for a German group, but when I first found them, I'm pretty sure everything that they had out was sea shanties, which will also be on this list. I do like listening to sea shanties, but I feel like a lot of their newer stuff is not in that vein. I feel like they're getting closer to the style of D'Artagnan than what their original style was. So I don't know exactly what type of music they consider themselves to be doing now, but I know sea shanties is where they started. And then Oonagh is another one, which that one is more of an Irish name. Apparently, I guess I never noticed this. All the German groups I follow, or singers I follow, don't actually have German names. But Oonagh's is the most tame, I guess would be a good way to put it, of all of the songs. Hers tend to be either more slower paced, more ballad-like, or they tend to be just more fun. Like she has a song, I'll translate into English. She has one called Dance With Me. She has another one that's the Maiden and Her Love. Sorry, trying to think of the German words and say them in English at the same time was not working. Die Mädchen und die Liebe is the name of the song. And yeah, my brain wanted to say the Mädchen and the Liebe instead of the Maiden and her lover, or and her love. I'm not sure which way that's supposed to be translated. And both of those are very fun, upbeat songs. Okay, they feel like fun, upbeat songs. The Maiden and Her Love is, I'll be honest, as far as the content in the song, it's not the happiest of songs. It reminds me of folk songs like Clementine or something like that, where you get to the end of the song and it's like, ooh, that took a slightly dark turn. But it's a really fun song to listen to. So probably the most mainstream music I listen to is some of the contemporary Christian music. Ann Wilson is currently my favorite artist in the contemporary Christian genre. Her first album, and I don't remember if it's self-titled or not, but pretty much every song on there is one of my favorites. This House, Mansions, and That's What We Need are probably my 3 favorite songs from that album, but I don't think there's a song on that album I don't like. For other non-mainstream English-speaking groups, the Hound and the Fox here on YouTube is a couple that I really enjoyed listening to. I love their style of songs. They do sound more like folk songs, like what you would expect of folk songs, not a rock version of folk songs. Their cover of The Wellerman with Adam Chance is one that I really like. Their cover of, well, I guess, I'll say their version because it's an older hymn. Their version of Down to the River with Peter and, I don't know if it's Evine. I don't know how to say her name. But Peter Hollins and his wife. That one I really enjoy as well. And like I said, I've also been listening to sea shanties. So The Longest Johns, Nathan Evans are probably the 2 main ones. I do also enjoy The Last Sea Shanty by, I have to look up the band's name, by Derina Harvey Band. My brother introduced me to that one, and that's the only song I have by them right now, but I do enjoy that song as well. And then just another random song that I've really been enjoying is If I Die Young Part 2 by Kimberley Perry. And if, like me, you listen to the band Perry's song, If I Die Young, from several years ago, and really enjoyed it, you should go listen to this one if you haven't, because it's very much a follow-up to that song, but it's just the female singer who's doing it. I think she's come back to have a solo career now, and this is one of the songs that she released, and I love this song. All right, the last thing I'm going to talk about before I get to the rest of the Q&A is something I don't watch as often as I would like, because I spend too much of my time reading instead, and that is anime. And I've watched several anime. I have not watched any of the big ones. None of the ones that have just oodles and oodles of seasons. So Naruto, One Piece, Inuyasha, none of those. I have not watched any of those. I tend to watch the ones that only have maybe 1 or 2 seasons. Just because with the time that I have, it takes me long enough to get through an anime anymore when there's only 1 or 2 seasons. I cannot imagine how long it would take if I watched one that had several seasons. So unfortunately, I haven't watched any of those. But just to give you guys a bit of an idea, some of the ones that I've really enjoyed, I'm going to have to read them off of my computer. I'm sorry. But Arta, Snow White with the red hair, Fate Stay Night. I did like Fate Zero, although Castor got to me a little bit. If you've watched the show, you know. Fate Stay Night, the original, I didn't like as much. It was a little bit boring. Unlimited Blade Works, though, was fantastic. Steins Gate, I've only watched the first season of that one. And I feel like either there's a second season, like there's a Steins Gate Zero or something, or there's a movie. I'm not sure which, but I haven't watched that. Sword Art Online, I've watched the 2 seasons of that one. I haven't watched the movie or any of the other stuff that's come later. I've heard this one pronounced 2 ways, Gurren Lagann and Gurren Lagann. So whichever way it's pronounced, I've watched that one. Gargantia and the Virtuous Planet. That one, if not, it was really well done in general, but the biggest thing I appreciated about that anime, because it's one of the few times I've actually seen it done well, is the fact that when the main character crashes on this planet where they speak a completely different language, even by the end of the season, because it's only 1 season, he still doesn't understand everything they say. Like the entire season, he's learning more and more of their language, but even by the end, there's times when he gets stumped or he has to figure out what something means. And I appreciate that so much, because normally in shows, it seems like within the first couple episodes, they have the language figured out and now they're fluent in it. And that was not the case with this show. There were other things about it I thought were really well done, but that was one of the main things that stuck out to me. Trigun, I only watched the first season of Fairy Tail, but I really enjoyed it. And if it wasn't such a long show, I probably would have finished it by now. But it's another one that there's a lot of seasons to it. So and that one probably, I don't think that one's as bad. I almost want to say there's only 5 seasons to that one, so it's really not that bad. But like I said, it takes me a while to get through 1 season, so I haven't watched any more of Fairy Tail, even though I did really enjoy the first season. Okay, so those are all the ones I had listed as far as ones that I really enjoyed. I think I must have missed one on the list, because After Lost should have also been on that list. That was a really good anime as well. All right, I think that's all of the About Me stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and start answering the non-bookish questions. So the first one is, what would your perfect day look like? And that is a really good question. Perfect day, it would have to start with the kids are on their absolute best behavior all day and they don't get too loud. So I'm not just overwhelmed by all of the noise. That is what it would start with. In general, my perfect day, I can't really say like, you know, this and this and this and this would happen. But in general, my perfect day would be evenly broken up between spending time with my kids, spending time with my husband, getting housework done, getting stuff done and planned for this channel, reading, writing, and just generally relaxing. I don't think there's really a way to evenly divide that up in a day. But that would be my perfect day, is if everything was just evenly divided up and I could go to bed at night knowing I got a little bit of everything done and enough of everything done, and I can go to bed at a decent time and get a full night's sleep. And again, the kids are on their best behavior all day long. That is my perfect day. All right, the next question is a Bible verse bringing you comfort or strength in this season of life. Hey guys, Editing Charlene here, because as I was going through the footage for this video, I realized the answer that I gave for this question, while it is a good verse, doesn't actually fit the question. It's a verse that I like to go to just as a good reminder, but it's not one specifically of comfort and strength. So I thought I would come in here and correct that. There is a verse that has been speaking to me a lot more recently, and that's 2 Corinthians 1:3-5, which reads, "Blessed be the God and Father of our Lord Jesus Christ, the Father of mercies and God of all comfort, who comforts us in all our affliction, so that we may be able to comfort those who are in any affliction, with the comfort with which we ourselves are comforted by God. For as we share abundantly in Christ's sufferings, so through Christ we share abundantly in comfort too." And I realize that most of the sufferings that I deal with are not specifically because I'm a Christian, at least from the world's perspective. I'm not being persecuted for my faith. I'm not being imprisoned for my faith the way Paul was. My life is not in danger because of my faith. So I'm not suffering in the same regard as Paul was, but keeping in mind that anytime I'm dealing with struggles in this life, when bad things happen, whether it's things I remember that happened in the past, things that are happening now, things that will happen in the future, just remembering that my comfort comes from God, and anything I go through can potentially at some point provide comfort or enable me to provide comfort for someone else. And it's just a great reminder to keep pushing through, because if I push through and get through it, God will bring me through it if I rely on Him. And when He does, He can then use that to bring glory to Him by providing comfort to somebody else. All right, the next question is your go-to comfort meal or snack. Well, my go-to comfort meal is always pizza. Like, I've heard the question so many times of, if you could only have one meal for the rest of your life, what would it be? And my answer is pizza, because it comes in so many varieties. Because it never says it has to be like one specific type of pizza from one specific company. It's pizza. I could survive on pizza for a long time without getting burned out. Other comfort meals, like meals I just really like making and eating, chicken carbonara and chicken enchiladas, which the enchiladas that I make are not made with the red sauce. It is a white sauce made with cream of chicken, sour cream, and milk and chilies. So I don't care for the red enchilada sauce. Apparently I liked it when I was really young. I have not liked it in a very long time. But discovered a recipe with a different sauce, and those I will devour. And comfort snack, I don't know if I really have a comfort snack. Chips and salsa would be the closest to a comfort snack. And the last question on here is favorite roast of coffee and favorite region of coffee bean. Okay, this is where I'm going to get really boring, because yes, it's called Coffee in a Book, and I always have coffee with me when I do this video. However, people are going to be very disappointed to find out that I drink decaf coffee. And this is medium roast. As far as flavor goes, I do like dark roast, but decaf only comes in medium roast. This is literally the coffee grounds that I use. Now, I have tried other coffees. I have had other coffees. I have ground beans and made espresso. I've gone to coffee shops and gotten coffee there. But my go-to on a day-to-day basis is decaf, because caffeine and I really don't get along. Caffeine, it doesn't take a lot. Caffeine will make me very jittery. So for the most part, I stick with decaf. Like I said, I do like the flavor of the darker roast, but decaf doesn't come in dark roast as far as I've seen. I can tell you my favorite coffee shop is Scooters. I am not a Starbucks person. I do not care for Starbucks coffee. I will do Scooters. I will do Dunkin' Donuts. I will do 7 Brew. I don't do Starbucks. And I know I am vastly in the minority on that one. Pretty much everybody loves Starbucks. I do not. Starbucks is not my thing. My go-to drink at Scooters right now is the Oreo drink, which I do add espresso to because it doesn't actually come with espresso. But outside of their, seasonal drinks, which actually they have one out right now. So I don't know how well that answered the question, since it was about which roast and beans do I like. Arabica beans are the only ones I know of that the coffees I've had have actually been made of. So I guess if I was going to go with beans, that's what I would go with. And I know they're from somewhere in South America. I just don't remember where. Since I can't really answer the roast, I thought it was better to just go with, these are places where I get my coffee from. There's a company called Adagio, which is where I buy my loose leaf tea from. And they do now have a branch of their company that does coffee beans. So I do want to try some of their coffee beans and see what they're like. I'm pretty sure they have one that's decaf, but if I remember right, it's also, I feel like it's mentioned something about having a bit of a cherry flavor to it, and I'm not a fan of cherry flavoring. So I don't know if I would go with that or if I would go with something else, but I would like to try their coffee beans at some point. I'm not a coffee aficionado. I'm not a coffee connoisseur or anything like that. If I could handle the caffeine, I would probably have a better idea of an answer to this question, but unfortunately, with caffeine not agreeing with me, that's the best I can do. But that's all I have for you guys for today. Clearly, I've rambled long enough because I've had to change the battery twice. So, if there are any questions that you thought of after this video came up that you would like me to answer, you can leave them down in the comments below, and I will do my best to answer them. But other than that, I hope you enjoyed this video and having a chance to get to know a little bit more about me. I'm hoping this video isn't forever long, but I have a feeling it's going to be one of my longer ones. So I will do my best to get this out in a reasonable time, but it's going to take a while to edit. I can already feel it. So I hope you all, as always, are having a wonderful day, and I'll see you later.